afraid no more. I ain't afraid to sing. And if the words are clear, I know that I can sing. Busting out the rules that they control. Busting out a love there in my soul. Busting out a dream that won't be so. I said no. Busting fair. I'm busting fair. Busting fair. Busting fair.
Thank you so much, Bobby. I really appreciate that.
Welcome. You are so welcome, Carol.
I also want to say how much I appreciate you choosing to bring that, make that available when we start the show and end the show.
Oh.
And I never asked you to do that.
Oh, no.
You've chosen to do it.
Oh, I have.
And that just really touches my heart.
You
And
touch my heart,
I
Carol.
thank you so much for volunteering without asking. That's very special.
Oh, you're welcome.
And
Thank
I
you.
love seeing your wife when she's available to come here too.
Oh,
so-
she loves being here, too.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Good.
she does.
So I just wanted to acknowledge Bobby Lee for stepping up to the plate without being asked. That's a really unique individual that would do that. So,
Thank
and then
you,
of course
Carol.
we have an all-volunteer crew here.
We do.
And tonight I decided to take a chance, and I sent out a message on Facebook and Twitter. And it says, you know, sometimes we start a few minutes late. We're almost a half hour late today. And it seems the times I send out those messages were really quite late. So anyway, we're still here. And the reason we attempt to start at 6:30 is because Underground comes on at 9 o'clock. And sometimes they have guests or people with music or bands, and they need to get the area here all prepped for that. So it takes some time. So that's why we do come on at 6:30 on Friday nights. Now the other thing I want to say here for just a second, and Ginger, you got to come up here and get your two little buddies. Ginger lost her good Poochie friend today, and so we have a couple of little buddies. If I know I'm springing this on Mike, but if Ginger could come up and get her little buddies, that'll help her through the rest of the evening and maybe a few more days. She lost a very precious dog today, so I understand what that's like. So we want to thank Ginger. She's the switcher. She's the one that switches the views on the camera. So there you go. You're welcome.
Thank you.
So we really appreciate all the effort that Ginger puts into making the show work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
And I hope that helps get you through the night and for the next few days until you find you another pooch.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, tonight Dixie's going to take the lead tonight, and she's had some experiences this week, and she wants to talk about fear and some discussions she's had with some friends. So let's hear what Dixie has to say about moving to fear and these topics.
Okay, I found something, I don't know, a few months ago that gave words for the word fear. So we have F-E-A-R, and I'm going to tell you the words. F is for false, E is for evidence, A is for appearing, and R is for real. So fear is all about false evidence appearing real.
Wow.
Now, I wanted to tell you about this last week because I had a friend, two friends call me, but one friend in particular that was never concerned about earthquakes or anything like that. And she had found on Facebook that there was going to be a very serious earthquake. And that was, I think, that was the one predicted off the Oregon coast, Oregon-Washington coast. And I'll explain that a little bit more here in a minute. But so she was very concerned about this earthquake that was going to happen on the 28th. That was yesterday.
Now, who predicted this earthquake to happen on the 28th?
I'm trying to think that where she found it. She found it on Facebook, and I think it could have been the same guy from Australia. I don't remember
Okay.
his name, but anyway, so she knows that I have some concerns about earthquakes, and so she called me and asked me what I thought. And I said, well, you know, I don't know. One has been predicted off the Oregon-Washington coast, a very serious earthquake. And I took a geology course, and I track earthquakes, which, by the way, let me explain that I work for the American Red Cross in California for a year. And ever since then, which was approximately 1999 to 2000, and ever since then, I have tracked earthquakes in
How do
the
you
United
track
States.
them?
I go to the USGS,
Okay.
United States Geological
Website?
Society website,
Mhm.
and they track earthquakes on there.
And they have these, they show Earth and they have these little circles that
Yes.
earthquakes are happening to the Earth all the time.
Yes.
And it shows these circles all over the Earth, and the different colors designate the different intensity or the magnitude of those earthquakes.
Yes. The other thing is, the one I go to, it tracks according to how strong they are. So each night I will go and track the ones that are 4.5 or stronger. And when I worked for the Red Cross, I used to go out and give presentations of how people could prepare for earthquakes: water, food, etc. And anyway, so then I started reading, after moving up here in 2003, I was reading about, in the newspaper, about the prediction that there will be another very serious earthquake off the Oregon-Washington west coast.
And if you want some advice to prepare for earthquakes, please call in and talk to Dixie, 360-693-7544. This is a live internet show, folks. 360-693-7544. And Dixie can share how to prepare.
Okay, so anyway, when I had the one friend call and was concerned because there was an alignment of planets yesterday, and there was some real concern that that alignment of planets would create earthquakes, very serious earthquakes.
Has there been evidence that that is how earthquakes have happened in the past? With the planetary alignment?
Yes, and also the moon in the way. Oh, let's see. How would I say it? When the moon is full, it can also affect the Earth. So
Yeah, there's a
there are
gentleman, I
earthquakes.
forget his name, he's always on Coast to Coast AM radio show.
Yes.
And he says it has to do with the eclipse of the moon or something like that. And
Yeah.
so,
Eclipses are very serious also for creating earthquakes.
okay.
There is a lady, Charlotte King, down in Salem, who predicts earthquakes according to the pains and difficulties, dizziness that she gets in her body.
Oh, and the fellow that's on Coast to Coast, he also says the animals disappear.
Yes, animals they disappear, and they can also act very strangely. So pay attention to your animals. Anyway, so my other friend Myrna called me, and she had joint friends that have moved to Ecuador call her and tell her he tracks a prophet in Australia. And I don't know that man's name, but anyway, he predicted an earthquake on the 28th, midnight last night, for California, and that's the San Andreas Fault. And so I was talking to Myrna about that, and the concern, I mean, I understand her concern, but I didn't feel, my intuitive feeling was not that there was going to be an earthquake. And so I said, well, all we can do is wait and see.
At least not on the 28th, and here we're on the 29th.
Right.
And then also Billy Meyer, the people that contacted him, that he was in contact, not of this earth, told that there is a San Andreas earthquake coming, and you'll know about the time because there won't be any more side view mirrors on cars. So time to move away out of that area, folks.
And my thoughts about that are that they have already started to produce cars that actually drive themselves. And so there will come a time when we do not drive cars. The cars will drive themselves, and there will not be a need for mirrors because they'll be there will be a computer technology that figures out if there's a car ahead or behind or whatever. And so that's what I think. It's
Well, right
in the
now,
future.
your wheels, there's these boxes as you go down the street. The Bluetooth connects to those boxes.
Oh.
So that's already in place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, on the newer car. I don't know when that started, but I heard that on BBC America the other day.
Okay. Well, and I want to talk about the West Coast earthquake. There's been an earthquake approximately every 300 years. And I was going to say, and now I'm going to tell you about, that I took a geology course in our community. And the professor talked about this, that approximately, and it's approximate, every 300 years, that there is an earthquake, a serious earthquake off the Oregon and Washington coast, because there's the North American plate and the Pacific plate that are hitting against each other. And it usually means a very small amount of change in, maybe inches, just inches. Well, then at some point, approximately every 300 years, then those plates just really hit each other very, very hard. And that can be a 9-point earthquake. And it can produce a huge tsunami. And they have found this because they've done investigation on the Oregon and Washington coasts. That's how they know this.
Do you think we're far enough inland if that should happen?
I do. I asked the professor if, I said, well, I track earthquakes, and there have been a number of them over the last year that have hit 150 to 200 miles off the southern Oregon coast. 5-pointers, 6-pointers. And so do you think that's where this huge earthquake is going to hit? And he said, no, look at the areas that the earthquakes have not hit, because the earthquakes, the smaller earthquakes, smaller 5 or 6 point, they're so far off they don't do damage. But those releases the pressure from the plates hitting against each other. So he said, look at the areas that have not had earthquakes. So the Vancouver Island has had earthquakes above and below it and to the west of it. And those are significant, 5 and 6 pointers. But the area between Vancouver Island and upper, I would say the northern part of Oregon have not had earthquakes. And so we're talking the Seattle area, the Puget Sound area.
Yes.
And I'm not saying it's going to happen because it's approximately every 300 years. It could be 350 or 400. And actually, this is what the professor told me. He said you have 300 years then 300 years, then 600 years, then again 300 years, 300 years, 600 years. He said, we are at the first or second of the 300 years. So it's probably going to hit us in the next 100 years, I would say.
Okay.
Just approximately. But there is really nothing we can do about it except do some preparation for earthquakes. And Portland has had approximately 5 earthquakes in the last 100 years that have been a good 5 point, not 6 point, but over 5 point, that can do damage. Back in 1993, I'm pretty sure there was one that hit her here.
Yes, I was going to Fat Clark College. I had stopped working after 20 years and I went back to school. And I was at Clark College and I was taking this great geology class. I mean, this teacher was hot. All the women liked him. But he was also very fascinating and he just got excited. He talked about going and walking on the lava that was still hot in Hawaii. Hey, he says, we have got a phone call. Yes, thank you. All right. Hello, caller. You're on Busting Fair. Hello, caller. You're on Busting Fair. Oh, the line that's blinking. I have no blinking line. I have a red light over here, but there's nothing blinking. The red light? Hello, caller. You're on Busting Fair.
Hi, guys.
Hi. Who's calling?
I would like to talk to you about those earthquakes. Dixie's is bringing up a real good subject, and there's been a great concern with this Jade Helm that's going on, that they are expecting some earthquakes. But we know that several of the earthquakes that actually took place in Oregon were caused from a HARP system, a mobile HARP system. And one of the guys that actually was a part of that, he was testing for gas pockets and oil, and they told him to turn up the little mobile HARP system. And when he tested it, it caused the earthquake. And he was saying that this system, this sound wave system that they're using right now, they're using it for weather wars. China, Russia, United States have these weapons, and they are actually tapping these fault lines and causing these earthquakes, make them look like natural disasters, but in effect, what they're doing, they're causing, it's a war that's going on. So they're causing earthquakes. They can actually move the asteroids. They saw on satellites that actually one side of the asteroid will heat up on one side and will manipulate the asteroid to move into a certain direction. That's why Russia, with that one asteroid hit Russia, Russia came out and said that was the United States. That was an attack from the United States, and everybody laughed at them. But what they're finding out right now with this Jade Helm going in, they're using it in 2 different aspects. I'm kind of going on Jade Helm because this is real important, because they're setting martial law in to have everybody in place, because they're talking about tapping 2 different fault lines. One is the Andreas fault line, the other one is connected to the Yellowstone. And if these go off, they will already have martial law and these people in place for martial law.
What is Jade Helm?
Jade Helm is it's Jade Helm project. They're using all the elite military, and they're doing an exercise, it's so-called an exercise, and they're moving military into what they consider hostile. It's supposed to be like a practice for to control the civilians during a civil unrest or a natural disaster. But they're already moving these people in place, and a lot of people are really concerned about this because once they move into a place, they don't move out. So it goes really deep. You just have to look it up and read it, because we can go on and on and on about the Jade Helm project.
Isn't that
the
supposed to...
The end goal here is that they are doing 2 things with this Jade Helm. One on the left-hand side, they are going to use it for either a natural disaster. On the right-hand side, in October, they're going to come out with that the currency is going to be, the standard currency is going to be the Chinese currency. So either way, if they go to the Chinese currency, it's going to cause civil unrest because the dollar will fall apart overnight and cause civil unrest. And so they're kind of use it to their advantage by setting up Jade Helm. But back to, I'm kind of bouncing around here because I'm trying to bring up the point what Dixie's saying, talking about these earthquakes. This is very serious because right now what they're finding out is these weather wars, they are actually they have a drought in California right now, and they found out that there is a system that's heating up the atmosphere out on the coast that's keeping the clouds from coming inland on the California coast. Well, this is all part of their weather weapons. And people can, if you look it up, it's what do they say? That reality is stranger than fiction. But if you look it up, you'll be amazed at what they're doing with this. But they're trying to cause these natural disasters so that the end game is that we will cry out for their help to be the saviors, and they will come in and save us. But in return, we have to turn over all of our rights, all of our constitutional rights, for them to be able to help us. And the end game will be the United Nations will own our country.
I heard about this, and that technically there's supposed to be something happen this summer, or is that October?
It's October. The currency thing is the IMF new leader will come up with a speech in October. And we heard about that through Fritz Springmeier. And he said that when she gives a speech, basically the currency the dollar will drop within minutes of that speech.
Okay.
So we got that going on, but this earthquake that they're talking about that is going to be caused not just as a natural, but it will be caused through these weapons. And they're just setting it up, and nobody knows when that's going to happen. It could happen in the middle of the summer, but they want to cause chaos before they actually implement this.
Okay.
And they want to cover this currency collapse also because all these bankers that are stealing all this money, they'll be exposed if they collapse the currency before a natural disaster.
Okay, and I've heard quite a bit of this already, but it's very interesting. I'm very happy that you called in to give us this information. So we don't really know how the earthquake is going to happen. It will happen, basically.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Whether it's going to be natural or manufactured.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for
All right,
calling
thank you,
in.
ladies.
All right. Thank you for calling in, Mike.
Anyway, let's see. To get back to the earthquake, so my intuitive feeling is it was not going to happen, and all I could do was assure my friend that I didn't think it was going to happen. And it didn't happen. Whether it happens tonight is another question.
It's true.
Because if there's something like a 9-pointer on the San Andreas Fault, my guess is at least we might feel it somewhat here. Anyway, and whether it's man-made off the Oregon-Washington coast or it's the natural course of things, it's going to happen eventually.
So how do people not step into fear when that happens?
Well, my thoughts are that we really cannot control the situation.
Right.
So therefore, we prepare the best we can for ourselves. And that could be that everyone should always have extra water, extra food, flashlights. I'm trying to think a radio that you don't have to plug into the wall. A number of things to prepare in case there's an earthquake, no matter how the earthquake happens. Anyway, so
do your best to take care of yourself and not be dependent on these systems that may or may not help you.
Right. And I had a house built back in 2006, 150 miles east of here. And it wasn't just because I was fearful of earthquakes. It's a beautiful home, and it's called a Deltec home. You can find it on the internet under Deltec Homes. And it's quite beautiful, and I had the money to do that, and so I had it built. And then I outfitted it in case of an emergency, because I thought, well, you know, it's way far away from anything. Of course, getting there is another question because 150 miles east of here. Anyway, so about 2 years ago, the fear of, say, the big earthquake off the Oregon-Washington coast or other things kind of went away. It just subsided. And I can't tell you how I did that. I don't think I did it necessarily. I just didn't feel that I should be fearful. And I'll explain this to you.
Yes.
As I'm going up to this house, you go down a canyon and up on a sort of dry desert area, and then you come to you're on the road, and it goes between tall trees for probably about half or 3/4 of a mile. And I'm always concerned about deer when you have trees, because you can't always see them coming out. And one did come out one time, but I slowed down and didn't hit it. But I thought, okay, I'll slow down to about 45 or 50 here. The speed limit's 55. Sometimes I go 60. And I thought, you know, I could go 35, but then it won't get me there any sooner. And I'm living in fear if I do that. So I just have to watch carefully, slow down a bit, and just keep moving. And that's the way I feel about fear. Fear can keep us confined to our homes if we're afraid to go out and do anything. So it's time for us to say, okay, it could happen, but I'm going to be in the right place at the right time. That's my theory. I'm going to be in the right place at the right time. If I die, it's time for me to die. So my advice is don't allow yourself to be fearful constantly, or you're not going to enjoy life. So anyway, and yes, I'm trying to sell the house. I've been trying to sell the house for 2 years. Gee, since the fear went away.
Interesting.
And the house is what I would call out in the middle of nowhere. And what I mean by that is it is 30 miles east of Goldendale that has about 3,500 people.
The house or Goldendale?
The house.
Has 3,500 people?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Goldendale
Gotcha.
has, yeah, you did. Goldendale has 3,500 people. The house has no one sometimes, but
Yes.
okay. And yes. Anyway, we're hearing voices in our ears, by the way, if you're wondering. Okay, it's also 5 miles west of a little town called Bickleton. And Bickleton has only 90 people in it. So it really is out in the middle of nowhere.
So you have to go there on purpose.
Yes, exactly. And I call it my retreat house because it's quite beautiful, and it is out in the middle of nowhere. And they did put windmills in, so that's the only light outside of the house at night. And guess what I can do? I can go out and look at the stars. And I know why they call it the Milky Way, because it's milky there.
Dixie, we have a night vision we have night vision goggles. We need to be out there looking
All right.
to see what else is up there. Dixie.
Sounds like, I know, because it's not too far from James Gilliland's ranch, who sees UFOs all the time.
Yes. Yes.
So, anyway, so it's, the fear is, remember, false evidence appearing real. And I think that it keeps us confined in so many ways when we're fearful of things. And I have been fearful of things and then found out that it didn't happen.
Can you give an example of some of those
Like-
fearful things besides earthquakes?
Okay, I was going to say like yesterday, it didn't happen.
Yes.
It's like the fear of the deer jumping out in front of me.
Okay, sure.
And slowing down. How much should I slow down though? See, that's the whole thing is how many times do I stay at home because I'm fearful of going out and getting in the car? And guess what? I've had some really serious auto accidents. So I could be fearful of getting in the car. But I had to force myself to do it in order to get beyond the fear.
Now, you were in a very serious accident. You were
Yes.
hit head on by a truck.
Yes.
You were in the hospital about 4 months.
3 months.
3 months.
In 2 hospitals.
And how many bones did you break?
101 bones.
101 bones. And she's
Serious-
walking and talking today, folks.
Yes. And I
Yes.
had a very serious head injury.
Yes.
And a good excuse for my memory loss.
And you must have had amazing doctors.
Yes, yes. And I don't remember the accident or the first 2 months I was in the hospitals. The
So
first
you
one
had a
was-
lot of fear to work
yes,
through to even
yes,
to get back into a
Yes.
car and start driving.
yes. And I'll throw in here that I had learned how to analyze hand analysis. And my mother would come to the hospital every day and she would tell the nurses, show her your hands. She can tell you some information. And that really helped me
In your recovery.
my recovery from the brain injury particularly.
We have 5 viewers, folks. We're going viral again. Thank you so much. 360-693-7544. 360-693-7544 if you want to share your earthquake and busting through the fear.
Yes. And I think the next time I'm on, I won't be here for 2 weeks for other reasons. And the next time I come on, I would like to talk about our goals, because I think goals help us move through our fears.
Okay.
It's looking forward to something that you're going to have or do or accomplish. And so you take your mind away from the fear of this and that and this and that, and you go, oh, this is what I'm going to do, and I can hardly wait to get there. Goals are so important, and I would really like to have a show about goals.
Okay. Well, you will be on board then to share that technique or that theory or how that works for you. Because I'm not a goal-oriented person. I never have been. I've never had a
Okay.
goal for any specific thing.
Okay?
My problem is there's this, you've got 4 quadrants of the brain, and one is normally dominant in people. I'm pretty well balanced. I did that brain whatever testing thing, and I'm pretty balanced. That's a blessing and a curse all at the same time. A lot of things capture my interest, but I really have no passion to do
Okay.
anything specifically.
Okay.
But yet I've dabbled in doing a lot of things that are very interesting.
Okay. So I can say on air that she has no Gina Heartlines, because Ginas are passionate.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, so
when
that
I
just
analyzed her
confirmed
hands.
I have no passion and I have no goals. Goals just don't make any sense to me, never have. I don't think they ever will, and I'm too old to figure it out.
Well, and that's just fine for you.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are people out there that are going to listen to this that
Yeah.
also are, in your situation. So.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. So, I do want to mention a couple things before we shut down tonight. I do have some new information up on divinedominoes.com. That's DIVINEDOMINOES.com. There's some information up there about my favorite topic, a psychopath, and it demonstrates clear the system that he's involved in, and his system is providing vaccinations to children in India, and 49,000 of them so far have been disabled. So India is suing this person. And then there's another article, number 1. It's about psychopathic systems, their minions, and their agenda. And that is pretty well laid out from David Wilcock. His website is divinecosmos.com. And I've got an excerpt from that story, or that information that he's presented and written and put up on his website. It is very long to read, but it will certainly give you some insight as to some of the strange things that are going on in movies, the Super Bowl halftime show with Madonna there. And Madonna has written a new song or something called Illuminati, and it is very, very strange. This is just not the Madonna I know. Something very strange is going on. So take a look at that, absorb the metaphors, forgive it, don't engage in it, just learn where they are so you don't have to be a victim of the fear of matrix that they're trying to create. And thank you, Bobby Lee.
You're welcome.
We'll hear from you now.
I ain't afraid no more, I ain't afraid to say. And now the words are clear, I know that I can sing. Busting out the fear that rules my soul, busting out a love that's in my heart, busting out a dream that can't be so. I said no. Busting fear, busting fear, busting fear, busting fear, busting fear, busting fear. Let it go, baby, and bust that fear.